Peace and light, peace and love. Thank you for joining me. I'm Shakesha, a divine priestess, and this is the Pretty Priestess Podcast. I'm all about empowering our self-image with discussions on beauty, life, and magic. What's up, everyone? Today, I have some very, very special guests today. We're going to be talking about the metaphysics of self-love. But before I introduce them, I want to talk real quick about this energy we got going on, because Venus has been in retrograde since December. And initially I was all out and about, and right now I'm like in a downtime position right now. So I've been kind of like in hermit mode, staying out of the way and everything, but I'm tying up some loose ends and in the editing process of my book. And I am super excited that that'll be coming out soon. But then tomorrow we got to get prepared because Mercury is going into retrograde. And if we don't know what Mercury is all about, that's the planet of communication. And when Mercury goes into retrograde, we typically have problems with how we communicate. We get misunderstandings and everything. And all of those things that are surrounding communication, like our media equipment, which is one of the things that I was just going through, starts to really cut up. So definitely be intentional in your conversations and watch how you move in these streets, because we got two planets in retrograde going on. We got Venus, which will be there until the 29th. And then we got Mercury in retrograde that's going to hold us down until the 3rd. So we got to watch how we moving out here in these streets. The door of miscommunications and misunderstanding, the possibilities are great, but if we're intentional, we can navigate this successfully. So peace, everybody. Anyway, I wanted to start off with introducing my guest here from the Fly With Us podcast. Please introduce yourselves and tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Lady Bounce. I am one half of the Fly With Us podcast. In my day job, I'm an intervention specialist and a special ed coordinator. And for the podcast, I am the brains behind the brain science. Yeah. And my other roles, I wear, all the other hats that women wear: wife, mom, sister, auntie, cousin, all that good stuff.
All right.
It's your boy Picket. I'm an MC by trade, craftsman, MC. The other half of the Fly With Us podcast. I'm also a natural health consultant and a student of metaphysics.
Awesome. Thank you so much for getting in here and having this discussion with me today. So Lady Bounce, tell me about the podcast Fly With Us and what inspired you to do that.
Well, it was actually Picket's idea. He had this idea for, a show about self-care, for women, and then for Black people as a whole, and then talking about mental health, really starting that conversation and keeping it going, because the views that we typically have about mental health, we don't need it, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm fine, and realizing that we're really not fine, and it's okay to not be okay, and let's do something about it so we can get to being okay. So It was his brainchild, and he was like, I want you to host it. And I was like, me? Who wants to listen to me? Like, what do I know? He said, you know a lot. You do all of this stuff. This is what you do. And because of what I do for my day job, I study brain science. So when we have a topic on the show, I'm giving the science behind it. So why does your brain function this way? Why does your brain think this way? And then if your brain is thinking in ways that it's tricking you, so to speak, I'm giving you ways to rewire your brain so your brain is your better friend than, the images that it takes in, the things that it sees and hears and has to process on a daily basis. So you stay, who you are.
Right. Okay. That sounds like a more grounded version of metaphysics. And I know that you're a hip hop artist and a holistic practitioner, but I had no idea about you being a metaphysician, Picket Fence. Tell me what inspired that.
Well, I've always, dabbled in it loosely for years and years. And a few years back, I hooked up with S. Ali Myers, who now goes by Indra Ali.
Okay.
who was on the internet and stuff like that. And it was so funny because I was watching his videos and stuff. And then he hits me up one day, like, so-and-so, a mutual friend of both of ours, Corey Smith, who was a producer. And he was like, I rhyme, so I was like, I didn't know he rhymed. So, I started taking his classes and like really got hard body over the last few years. So I've been a student of his for 3-4 years now.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it just like, it folded into, I already had a certification in natural health as a natural health consultant. So it just like folded into each other.
Yeah, they definitely do. Tell me what your description of metaphysics is and how that works.
For me, metaphysics is being able to tap into the unknown, or what the average person is not seeing. And you can do that by using several different tools. It may be astrology, it may be yoga, which is really more tapping into yourself metaphysically. It could be through tarot cards, it could be through crystals. My main thing is altar work. And most of Ali's students are hard body on altar work. So which is talking to the ancestors. I mean, even if you look at our ancient spiritual systems like bones, reading bones, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different tools to tap into what most people call the unknown, but people who are students in metaphysics, they're known.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we call that the occult sciences. And then it makes it sound all spooky and everything. And culturally, like many of us in the Black community, especially in my family, oh my goodness, what in the hell, what is you doing? You know what I'm saying? So they see this as a system that's a gateway to evil. But then on the other end, there's so many of us that are really interested in them. What would you say to a person that has interest but has these fears from what they've been taught?
I would say study up on it. Don't be afraid to learn. You could, even when you're first starting, you could keep your system that's basically just another system that's been ingrained into you for years, but don't be afraid to learn something else. And not only learning metaphysics, learn history of our culture. Because if you learn pre-transatlantic slave, you would see that most of these tools are tools that we use for thousands and thousands of years that was deep in our culture. And now it's taught our culture is, if you look at media, it's almost if Black people weren't invented until slavery. If you see movies and TV, the history they show us it's like slavery on now. But you don't see pre-slavery. You don't see us up in the Kemetic School of Science. You don't see us up in Timbuktu. You don't see us in South Africa at the atom stones hitting those sound rocks, communicating, you know what I'm saying, with the people, the unseen. So study history and you will see a lot of that stuff. And even if you, like I said, Kemetic science, if you study history, you're going to realize a lot of that stuff in the good book is really stuff that was kind of, snatched and borrowed and sampled.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 1,000% with that. I think that if we really want to dive deeper into Black history, we really need to dive a little bit deeper into our religious system and our spiritual practices, because that's going to give us a broader perspective of who we are as a people. It's unfortunate that we are one of the few communities that really don't know just how deep our roots are. So listen, adding this spiritual component. So when I was talking about the metaphysics of self-love, it sounds almost like oxymoronic because it's spirituality, which is so expansive. Then self-love is all about self-love, which is all about the self and within. Lady Bounce, tell me, how does self-love show up in our world and when we experience and how we experience it when we have it?
Well, for me, from personal experience, I love who I am. So because I love who I am, when I show up as me. So, you've heard, the poems and the stories, I wear the mask. When I go out, I don't wear the mask. You get the same me all the time. We either jail or we don't, because I do love myself. I owe it to myself to always be authentic. The world deserves my authenticity. So I show up. When I show up, it's me. Whether, if it's a good day, you're going to get the good me. If I'm having a rough moment, you might get the rough me, but you always going to get me 100%, mainly because it is too hard trying to pretend to be something that I'm not.
Mm.
And then I'm not loving myself when I'm trying to be like this person, I'm trying to be like that person. And then I feel cheated, and when we have that self-talk, when you go home at the end of the day and you run your whole day over, if you don't feel like you showed up as yourself, then tomorrow you owe it to yourself to just show up, to keep, loving yourself, loving who you are, loving every minute, even when you make a misstep. I still love myself because I'm learning in those missteps. And so when we talk about, loving ourselves and like self-care, people have this notion that like self-care is just bubble baths and bonbons. And it's so much deeper than that. Like when you really love yourself, then, the possibilities of how you show that love to everybody else becomes endless. It becomes boundless. Because if I'm loving me, it makes it so much easier to love everybody around me.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And it's definitely an inside job. And I like what you were saying, because it's all about that internal dialogue that's going on within yourself. And when you get to that space where you have full acceptance, then you're not putting a mask on for anybody, and you can definitely show up as who you are. But we have so many conversations that go on in the spiritual community about raising our vibration. Picket fence, tell me, what does that mean and how does that look?
I think one thing is, like Lady Bounce was saying, self-love is a way of raising your vibration, becoming authentic to you, becoming your authentic self will automatically raise your vibration. And like I was saying before, there are other tools that can help you raise your vibration, whether it be deep breathing, whether it be meditation, which is, one of the most popular ones right now, yoga, and like I said, you get crystals, altar work, all those things are tapping into you and tapping into source, which is going to raise your vibration. And for layman's terms, raising your vibration, everything is frequency, everything is sound, even though we don't hear it. Right. And when you're operating at a higher frequency, you feel good about yourself. You're able to put into people because you have so much energy to spare. You're able to manifest things that you want. You're able to have clarity when your vibration is high. But I fear that a lot of us, and I'm not, I can't really tell people what to do, but one of my observations is that a lot of people do things that they may not think lowers their vibration. We watch a lot of stuff, like Saul Williams is famous for saying that your diet is more than what you just put in your mouth. Your diet is what you consume, what you read, what you watch, the people that you associate yourself with. And of course, being in our community is so diverse that you're going to mingle with people that may not be on the same frequency. So that makes it even more important for you to raise your frequency so that it's strong enough that they don't bring yours down. And then you just want to make sure you monitor that time that you're around people that may not be on your high frequency.
Okay. I appreciate that. And then when you're talking about, because I know you said you don't want to tell people what to do, but what would you recommend the crystals that people would use that would assist them in raising their vibration?
Amethyst is always a good one because it blocks out negativity.
Yeah.
If you're trying to increase your love power, I would say like rose quartz. If you're trying to better your communication, I would say turquoise, or I always say this wrong with blue agate. However you say it. That's a good one.
I messed it up too. Agate.
Better communication, bloodstone. I have some small ones that I keep in the sachet, especially my communication stones for when I go to the studio. to try to, make sure that I'm really center focused when I'm spitting. Like this new album is like, it's so like the dudes I record were like, yo, you in a pocket right now. And it's because of that work.
Okay. Okay. If I wanted to raise my vibration, this is for either one of you. If I wanted to raise my vibration and get an altar that's going to help me to do that, what would I put on that altar?
One of the most popular ones is a family altar. Where you put your ancestors on there. If you have a deity that you're interested in, read up on them first, I would say. And you could put your deities. I would make sure I put the deities on the top shelf, put your family on of ancestors on your second shelf. If you have multiple shelves, you don't have to have a multiple shelf altar. I just happen to have one. An altar could be a box, because a lot of times people don't, when they're just getting into it, they don't want people to see what they're doing. So they might keep it in the box under their bed. You just pull it out. Some people use a cloth that may have the universe or stars or astronomical symbols on it. I use a white candle. It's sort of like a doorbell to the ancestors. I have a small crystal ball on mine. I usually light incense before I light the candle because they say it's just better to light your candle with a natural source. So I light the incense first and use the incense to light the candle. I have a singing bowl, not fancy like yours. It's a little small, I have a few crystals on mine. I have a quartz clear crystal, and like I said, I have 3 shelves on mine. I'm looking over there to make sure.
Okay.
To describe it properly.
But I have Buddha, which is a deity that I rock with a lot because I feel he's a person that went inside to do that real inside work.
Okay.
I have another Buddha that existed. I always say her name jacked up. Avalokosha. Communication, because I can admit I'm not the greatest communicator. My wife tells me all the time. And before I just be kind of like, no, I communicate greatly. But like now when she says it, I'll just say I'll work on that, because I know that I've always, even as a kid, thought that talking was like a human thing. Like you should be able to just vibe and, or a lot of times I won't respond. Because I feel like you gave me the information. I don't have anything to say. So I told her that was last night. I was like, I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
Yeah. Because I was like, did you just hear it? Like I had said this whole, like, if it would have been written down like a 5-page letter, just about stuff. And he just sat there, he didn't say anything. And I was like,
you're not even listening to me.
I was like, did you even hear what I said?
So I repeated everything she said, but I didn't respond. So, that's one thing. That's why I have her up there to kind of help me become a better communicator.
Okay.
So, and then on my second shelf, I have ancestors who have already gone, ancestors, people in the family that have transitioned already. And then on my third shelf, I have our like current pictures.
Okay.
And then on the fourth shelf, I have like a money jar to draw in that money. Another tool that I use on my altar that I didn't talk about is I burn what some people call hell notes or Josh paper. I just call it ancestor money.
Yeah.
Giving offering to my ancestors. So that's kind of like my basic setup. But I said there are a lot of different tools you can do, and that's why it's important to read and study and see which ones you can rock with. Like I'm not like full hard body in yoga, but I sun salutation. That's where I'm at right now. And I do that. I try to do that every morning. I probably at least get 3 days a week of that in. I've created my own water ritual that I do every morning. And so, it's just different tools. Man. Wow. And that's what another thing, when you become deeper into it, you realize that you can create your own tools. You know what I'm saying? And the water ritual for me, it's real simple. I just, I learned from the Hootie years ago that water is used to be in movement, like the ocean. And even if it's in a faucet, water is it's alive like we are, and it's used to the movement, the swing. So I rock and shake my water up, and I talk to it and ask it to do the things that I needed to do as I put it in my body.
Yes.
It's real simple, not drink a whole bottle. Because first of all, I don't like drinking water like that. So that has really helped me to incorporate. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's very powerful. Very powerful. I like that sun salutation. I think I'm gonna have to copy that right there. That's what's up. Let me ask a quick question that's off. Is the ancestors being on the second shelf, is that just a preference, or is there a significant reason for that?
As Ali taught it to us, he just, said that, traditionally you would put the deities on top,
Okay.
because those are the deities.
Right.
Like I said, a lot of people don't have multiple shelf altars.
Right.
A lot of them just have one shelf. A lot of people put their altar above the fireplace, on the mantle. I know, like, if you go in any Chinese restaurant, their altar, they don't usually use a lot of pictures. It's more like an open box, and where they have food, and they have 2 bowls of food, and then they have the thing where they place the incense.
Okay.
And then during holiday, they usually hang up the Josh papers or during holiday season. So it's just a matter of your preference. I know one thing that's a lot of teachers talk about is try to have your altar made out of a natural source, so like a wood shelf. Mine's not wood, but you just have to work with what you have in this life too.
Okay, that's powerful. So, Lady Bounce, I wanted to talk to you because we are so many of us that have been altering our appearances in the name of self-love, and it goes from one scale to another. So we can go either way with that. Where is the line between enhancing ourselves as a self-love thing and enhancing ourselves to where it starts to become more of an insecurity thing?
Well, unpopular opinion, it's all insecurity. The fact that you want to alter this perfect vessel that you have been given says that there's insecurity there from the start. If we think about, us as women, this body it doesn't look the way it did when I was 17. It doesn't look the way it did when I was 21. But this body has created 2 beautiful people, in my children. This body has been a life partner and a health mate to the person sitting next to me. So this body has done some amazing things. Why would I want to mess with it? Now, I understand, wanting, the tummy tuck, or, you want your breasts back up here where they used to be. I understand the want and the desire for that. But at the same time, you've earned those stripes, as they call them. You've earned the opportunity to be who you are. Again, that's back to being that authenticity. I've earned the right to look the way I look. I'm in my 40s. I'm not supposed to look like I'm 17 anymore.
Hello.
I would look at my husband funny if he put pressure on me to look the way I did when I was 17, because I'd be like, wait a minute, bro. There's some things there's some communication that's missing. So while I get it, we all want to maintain this fountain of youth. We've been taught this standard of beauty, that if you don't look like this, then you're not pretty. If you don't look like that, then you don't have value. Right. And I tell myself every day, I have value because of who I am and what I bring to the world. If it's not as aesthetically pleasing to you, then so be it. Sorry, not sorry. I'm gonna, be who I am. So right now I'm on a journey to, lose a couple of pounds. I don't have to. I just want to. I want to be a healthier version of myself. But by no means do I want to look the way I did, when I was 19 or 20. I'm not supposed to. I've earned the right, at this age to, like the one comedian said, when you take your bra off and your boobs go to the window, to the wall. I've earned that right. I've paid my dues in this world as a woman to be able to look and be comfortable in who I am. Now, with that being said, if you choose to enhance yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. But what you need around you, not only a strong mindset yourself, that's why they, in some cases, when you go to get lipo and stuff like that, they put you through a psych exam to make sure that you are mentally stable to be able to handle the procedures happening to your body. But what you need around you are good, true friends, good, true family that is going to tell you the truth, not to hurt you, but to help keep you grounded. So, you know, if we look at like Michael Jackson, he was very unhappy with his appearance, but nobody around him told him, you are beautiful the way you are. Look at yourself in the mirror and appreciate what you are and who you are. I suspect that nobody told little Kim that, because now when we look at her, we go, dang, we want the 1992 Kim back. What is this we're looking at?
What have you done? Right.
Yeah, like what have you done and why? You were fine the way that you were. So she needed more people around her that allow her to be her authentic self and say, hey, you're going too far. That's too much. You know, you scale it back. But now at the point that she's at now, there is no going back. This is the way that she looks. And I'm like, when you go to show your kid pictures of you as a child, your child's going to look at you and go, Mama, that ain't you.
Right.
So,
well,
you know,
who's that?
yeah, so like it's a fine line, you know, to talk between enhancement and going too far, but you just need people around you to be like, hey, Keisha, it's too much.
Yeah.
We're doing all that. Get a waist trainer, you okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you have anything that you wanted to add or include with that? Did you have any thoughts?
I mean, not too much. I mean, just you can enhance yourself naturally. You know what I'm saying? You could work out, you could eat healthy, you could drink plenty of water. It's gonna clear up your skin. You know what I'm saying? You can do light, non-strenuous exercise to keep your muscles, you know, active and working right. Especially when you're older, that stuff starts to deteriorate. It's natural for it to deteriorate. So I mean, I've always liked natural over anything, over plastic, any time, forever. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I can definitely dig it. Yeah, I can definitely dig it. And then when I talk about like the broad spectrum too, I also want to touch, and I know this is going to be sensitive to a lot of us sisters out here, but the hair extensions that we put in our hair as a means of enhancing. And trust me, believe me, before I grew these locks, I was the queen of wearing a weave, a wig, whatever have you, whatever I thought was going to help to enhance my appearance, because there were so many insecurities. I think even the root of me dyeing my hair blonde initially was some midlife crisis shit, like, oh, you know, I'm not going to get old and everything. And I'm okay with that, because I like the blonde hair, but I know where it comes from, and I'm going to keep it 100% real. The concern that I have, especially on a metaphysical level, is the hair that we're putting on our hair.
I definitely agree with you on that. If somebody wants to do that, I would say use plastic weave.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I wouldn't, you know, everybody wants the
human hair.
The human
hair. The naked line.
The Kamuchi. I don't know what that stuff is.
Right.
But the reason I would say that is because you're putting someone else's DNA, binding it to your DNA. And that's something I think that you should be real leery about.
My biggest concern is that we're getting them from these third world countries. The people who live in abject poverty and squalor have been traumatized and lived so many horrific circumstances. And our hair is an antenna. And energetically, I think that the effects can mess with us a little bit by having that attached. A lot of that everybody gets the whatever the name ones comes from India. Yeah. Usually those women shave their hair because of some type of spiritual thing. And they're removing that bad energy or bad karma or bad situation in their life. And they do that at the temple. And then you have people from over here that go over to those temples and pay big money for that hair. Wow. And you're binding that hair to your own hair, which is merging that DNA on a metaphysical level.
Well, do you remember that we watched a movie? What's it called? Bad Hair?
Yeah, Bad Hair.
It was called Bad Hair, and it was about this girl who she was trying to get a job in TV. She had locks, she had natural hair. And so they're like, oh, if you want to work here, you want to go far in TV, then you got to look like this. So she started, getting some hair from overseas, human hair and everything. And basically the hair like possessed her and had her doing,
No, that
crazy
wasn't called
stuff.
Bad Hair. Oh, what was that? It's a good movie. It was like a
I
horror
thought it
flick.
was called Bad Hair.
It's called something here, but I think Bad Hair is Chris Rock's movie.
No, his is Good Hair.
Oh, okay. Then maybe it was.
Yes, I
Bad
think it's
Hair.
called Bad
Here,
Hair.
I'm gonna check.
I'm gonna look for it and send it to you because it was
Okay.
on Hulu.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, this is wild. And like the hair like took over and had like a mind of its own and was having her do stuff and stuff that wasn't her because of the hair. So it was pretty wild.
Yeah, that was a pretty good movie.
Wow.
I've experienced like I used to wear like weave when I get my hair braided because when I grow my hair out, my hair is super curly. So I needed the fake hair to weigh my hair down so it would stay braided. And then I got to a point where I tried to grow locks, but at the time, one, I didn't have enough patience and my character wasn't very strong. So as soon as my family, and they were the worst offenders. You ain't from Africa. Why you doing that? You look like your name should be Kizzy. I mean, they went so hard that I was in tears and I was an adult. Yeah. And I ended up after what was it, 3 months?
Something like that.
For like 3 months, I just washed it out and just went back to wearing like my natural hair because, I like I said, my character just wasn't strong enough. But now when I see like your hair and then like Esapatha Murkison, I have hair envy. I'm like, I want her hair. Like, why can't my hair look like that? Now, I mean, I rock my curls now and I actually just got a haircut like a week ago.
Yeah.
Right. And I like it, but I'm like, man, if I could have the hair that I really want, I would have these long flowing locks with some color. And I'm just telling you, but I can't grow locks. I'm just, at this point in my life, I'm like, I'm too old to like start them. I don't have enough patience. But for our sisters who do wear weave, you gotta take breaks. It's bad for your hair, whether you get the human hair or the plastic hair. It does break your hair off when you're worried about having edges and you getting to the point where you got to go buy edges or you going to the hair shop and they gluing hair from the back of your neck on so you have edges. That means you need to take a break from the weave. Right. But I think it's all rooted in what we talked about before about trying to fit into a standard of beauty that never included us. So we've been sold this image of this is what you should look like. I mean, they just passed a law last year about wearing natural hair in the workplace. Yeah. How can what God gave me, what grows out of my head, be wrong?
Right.
Our counterparts don't have to wear their hair a certain way or not process their hair or process their hair a certain way to be accepted in different jobs. Why do we?
Right.
Asian people have coarse, super straight hair. They're not sitting in salons trying to get the curly perms that, the Caucasian people wear. And nothing is wrong with that, if you choose to, but.
Well, I mean, they have straight hair too.
Right. I just want to look like me.
The sad part is that there had to be a law to be passed for you to be able to be your own self. That's what's ridiculous.
That's a shame. Yeah.
Now, what I will say to women, I understand needing protective styles, because this weather and environment and pollution can be hardcore on your hair.
No doubt.
Look at me. I don't have any.
But I mean, there's still, even with that, there's a limit. Like I teach high school and we have a couple of girls walking around right now that make me cringe because they have braids. Braids are beautiful. Braids are our natural hairstyle, but their braids are literally to their ankles.
Right.
So
what is that about?
Yeah, like when they're sitting in class, they doing like this before they can sit down so they don't sit on their hair. I was like, first of all, that's too much work. Yeah. You got to do all that flipping. That's too much work.
Now I know the thing that weird to me out is the eyelashes. It's just like,
wow! Yes! That was
just like weirds me out. Like
the brooms on the eyes.
What is going on here?
Right. And what guy said that was attractive? I have never met a man who said that's the chick he's looking for, is that one with the eyelashes like this.
It weirds me out.
Well,
it's so weird.
There was like, I watch a lot of TikTok and I keep up on news stories, but there was actually a news story that came out a few months ago that was weirding everybody out about where those big eyelashes actually come from and what they're rooted in.
Okay.
And so once the story came out, you would have thought that, you know, ladies would kind of ease back on wearing them because of what their original purpose was for.
What was
And
that?
well, in London, the prostitutes would get these big eyelashes because when they were out servicing their gentlemen, it was a cumbrella.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yes. And so when I first saw it, I didn't think the story was true. I was like, that is not true. It can't be. So I went and did research and found a bunch of like old pictures and scholarly articles. That was their original purpose. So the fact that we have women that want to walk around with these big caterpillar brooms on our eyes kind of weirds me out. Just like he said, it's weird looking.
That's off the hook. What?
I didn't believe it either. I was like, there's no way that that's true.
Wow.
And sure enough,
Wow.
it was true. I was like, wow. Yeah,
How
my
about
eyelashes
that?
are
Yeah,
just regular.
I shouldn't be surprised by anything anymore, for real. So me personally, I'm still navigating niggatry. So sometimes I get in a space where I want a cheeseburger, a double shot of Henny, and a split. Tell me from a metaphysical level, what does that do to you?
Like they always say, too much of anything is probably bad for you.
Mm.
I love beer, man. I mean, I'm not a big liquor drinker like I used to be. I used to be, man, we used to CBWB. That used
Oh
to
my
be
God.
that Christian Brothers white brandy. That used to be our
I
joint.
used to like that.
That used to be our joint. And what was the other? Red Blast, Seagram's Red Blast.
Yes.
We used to go be gully with it.
With the bottles on the TV when they was empty. Like we saved the bottles.
Yeah. Man. But you know, we was 25, 21, and I'm almost 50 now. So so I'm not that big of a liquor drinker, but I love beer. I love it if it didn't have alcohol. I mean, fortunately it does. I love the taste of it, which if you look back in our history, the Egyptians were making beer 10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of too much of anything and too early. I see kids 19, 20 look 37, 38.
Yes.
Because they're going hard. They drinking whole bottles of Hennessy every day.
Mm-hmm.
They drinking
on social media.
So on social media, smoking 20 blunts a day. And this weed ain't the weed we had.
Right.
You know, all these chemically enhanced weed. And I mean, and even years ago, like for me, I love weed too. I'm not really into it now because I don't even know where that shit's coming from.
Right.
But I love it in its natural state. And even years ago, I wasn't like just smoking to smoke. I was smoking to tap in. You know what I mean? Especially like I like if somebody's like we smoking, I'd be like, I hope we're doing some music. Because once I smoke, I'm be ready to tap in. Or if we're not making music, I at least got to be listening to some nice music. Can't be listening to no crazy stuff because I'm trying. The weed for me is tapping me into the source, and I need my journey to be good. So
those frequencies matter. Though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It can't be no crazy music, but I would prefer to be working on music, making music. But I just think that a lot of these kids are doing it just because it's the thing to do, and it's always been. For me, it's always been so that I could tap in. The beer, I just love the taste of beer. I just think that like I said, a lot of these kids are going too hard, too young.
Yeah.
Way hard. Yeah. And a lot of it's programming. You know, everybody's got a computer on their phone, in their hand, and they think that they're Brian Gumble or Dan Anchorage. So so everybody thinks they have their own TV show. So they do the craziest stuff for the love and the likes and stuff like that. And he's smoking 4 blunts. I'm about to smoke 10 right now. Watch me right here, y'all. I got 10 blunts right here. And like I said, this weed ain't the same weed we had. And you got to think, why are you doing this? What are you doing this for? Like I said, I had a reason and purpose was to tap in. So I just think that you have to pace yourself.
Yeah.
I
definitely agree. So I was talking to a friend of mine that was telling me about like a lot of the effects of alcohol and how it's been um numbing a lot of the senses, especially for the
Yeah.
sensitive. Thankfully, I think maybe I haven't drank enough for it to numb me, because I still have a lot of my senses even after I've been drinking. One of the things that I do notice is that if I drink and I smoke at the same time, a lot of times, especially with sativas, that I'm not really a smoker no more. I'm more of an edible person. And I think that may be one of the dimensions that makes it a little bit deeper. But what I have noticed is that when I ride past bars or I'm riding past places where people are doing a lot of drinking, and that's the consumption of alcohol itself, hard liquors, that you can see like lower energies like around that. If you're really tapped in enough, the vibration, it does go down. I think that's part of the reason why they call, like in Pittsburgh, I haven't noticed that in Dayton. When I went there, we call our state stores wine and spirits, because
they do in the suburbs.
Do they?
You know, because the Europeans, that's what they specialize in calling it, spirits. That's what they call liquor, is spirits.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it draws. And so with that Hennessy, you can do a lot of powerful ancestor work with that Hennessy. And there's a lot of people that do spirit work that I'm not really into that like that. So I can't really speak on it that deeply, but there's a lot of spiritual work that's done with that. My concern is that when I notice that there's a lot of alcohol on the scene and how lower energies are attracted to that, it makes me really wonder, like, are we really tapping in to what we're desiring to tap into, or are we picking something else up in that whole process?
Could, especially if you're in one of those places, because you don't really know those people. You know what I'm saying? If you go to an open place, a public place or something like that, you know, we go out occasionally, but we like to drink at home because you never know what's going to happen when them spirits is out there. You know what I'm saying? Every night you see some crazy stuff. She was just showing me a video yesterday at some little spot up the street where dude just like ran into some people.
Like with his car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It also depends on, you know, alcohol consumption a lot, you know, like you said, everything in moderation. But it does depend on too what you're drinking. Like your darker liquors are, you know, they're aged longer. They usually come from scraping the bottom of the barrels of stuff. So you're getting this concentrated syrup of alcohol, you know, and so that it does alter your spirit. It does alter your state of mind. From personal experience, from, you know, my younger days of when I used to, you know, really knock them back, I noticed that when I drank like dark liquor, I was angry, I was evil, I was ready to fight. Like I'm a Gemini by zodiac sign. But I noticed when I drank dark liquor, that evil Gemini came out. That twin that nobody wants to see is the one who showed up. And it cost me friendships, it cost me relationships. I got into some legal, you know, trouble and issues from drinking dark liquor. And now, you know, I noticed when I would drink light liquor, I would be more fun, more goofy, like more chill. Like, so for me, there was a huge difference in the two. So when I'm, you know, looking at like my students who, you know, Henny Hen is all they talk about. Well, you know, the joke is Henny Hen make you sin. So there's a reason for that. So it's about, you know, what you're drinking. There is, you know, levels to even your dark liquors. You know, you got top shelf, you got bottom shelf, you got the whale drinks. So if you think about just those words, a whale drink sounds like it's something that's cheap, that it's going to make you vibe way down here in the whale. Then you have, you know, your midline, your middle shelf stuff. So it might put you about here. And then you got your top shelf stuff, and it might make you vibe a little bit higher depending on how you're vibing already. So your original vibration, it's altered when you drink. So you got to make sure that if you're vibing up here already, that when you drink, it's going to bring you down a couple levels, but it's still not going to bring you down here, you know, down to the well, as they say. So it's, you know, it's moderation, it's what you drink, and then who you are around matters a lot too.
Yes.
And your chemical makeup.
Yes.
Because some people just can't handle any type of drinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know people like that. That you should just drink water.
Right.
You don't drink.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't drink nothing.
Right. You can't even handle a cup of coffee.
You won't Sprite all night.
Yes, I know some cats like that. And you know, it's funny you said the Henny Hen make you sin. For me, it used to be that gin make you sin.
Yes. I have a friend that's like that she's like, I can't mess with that gin. I'll take a shot or two of vodka, but I can't fool with that gin. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah, I haven't drank any gin in years, but I'm gonna tell you, it was a wild night. And always I had a Gemini to do some dirt with.
You know, it's what we do. We're fun-loving party people by nature, but we also have that dark side, and we'll take you with us in a minute. If you going, we gonna take you.
Absolutely. That's the partner in crime right there. That's
because we want company. When we do our debauchery, we don't want to be alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, so I've been hearing a lot of new research that's been out about the marijuana, but they're talking more the cannabis based and not the THC based. So now we have new variations. I don't know how it goes down in Dayton, but here in Pittsburgh, we have what they call a legalized form of marijuana, which is the Delta 8 version, which is a form of CBD that's spun down to give you the same effects as regular marijuana. There's studies from Oklahoma State University that says that this is actually protective against the coronavirus. Now, I got an email on this a couple of months ago, and I'm like, man, what the hell, whatever. But now, apparently, so there's information. So Killer Mike is putting this out there, and the twins, Red Pill and Blue Pill, they're putting this information out there and everything. And this was something that I got a hold of a while ago. What I am noticing is that, to me, it seems funny that they want to suddenly get a little bit more lax with a lot of the laws surrounding marijuana now, and how this game is changing with all of the illusions that we have being placed in front of us and everything. What are y'all's thoughts on that whole situation with this whole weed thing?
I need to read more studies on that, but we know that for thousands of years, cannabis and different parts of the cannabis tree have been used in medical for our people. But that specifically, I need to read up on that more. But, for the last 5-6 years, CBD has really been on the rise. They're putting it in everything. I drink the tea. One thing that it is great for, that people like, you don't get high off of CBD. It has all this medical things.
Yes.
One thing it does though, like if you ever watch like shows like Weed Etiquette and Bong Appetit, where they have all this weed food and stuff like that, like way more weed than you should have. So they always have like CBD drinks or CBD cigarettes afterwards, because CBD brings the high, levels the high out. So if you feel like, man, I am high, and you take some CBD, even if you drink CBD mushroom tea or CBD seltzer, it's going to level your high out.
Wow, how about that? So one of the things I remember when I was studying, well, I didn't study directly, like I saw a lot of his YouTubes and everything and read some of his literature, was Dr. Africa, who used to really talk about like not smoking the marijuana, because once you light it, the medicinal effects of it diminish. So all you're doing is getting high and you're not really getting the medicinal effects. Your best bet is to ingest the marijuana. But with the CBD, a lot of them are making a lot of teas and everything. From what my understanding is, I thought that marijuana is only activated by fats like oils and all of that. Is that, do you know how that is? That just the THC component?
No, that is true, but CBD, since it's from a different part of a plant, it can be put in teas. Because I know, like, trying to make marijuana tea doesn't really work out that great, but CBD is, since it's a different part of the plant and it's processed differently, you can put it in a lot more. I know for, like you said, for marijuana, you have to have the fat. So a lot of people make butters and things like that. And then they add the butters to their foods. Or some people even use it like a parsley type of thing and bake it into the food and stuff. So
Or in brownies.
I think since it's a different part of the plant, you could do a lot more with it. And that's why they say it's a lot more medically beneficial to people, because CBD could be used in all types of stuff. They have rubs with CBD in it now, and oils you could just rub on your body. I know we had when I worked at the record store, we had bath bombs, CBD bath bombs. So you can use it a lot more in different ways.
Well, as a conspiracy theorist, I think that, you know, I like the way that marijuana is becoming legalized, you know, around the country, or not legalized, decriminalized. I like that versus legalizing it, because once it's legalized fully and the government has their hands on it, you really don't know what you're getting. And let's face it, our government here in the US has not always been honest and forthcoming as it relates to us and people of color, you know. So once they get their hands on it and they start to monetize it, I would wonder what I was really getting. You know, if I grow me a weed plant in the backyard, I know what I've put in it. I know what I've put into the soil. I know the way that I've cultivated it. I've talked to the plant, I've treated it, and it's natural. When we start letting other people touch it and process it, I just wonder a little bit, you know, when you go to the doctor, the first thing they want to do is write you a prescription. They haven't even looked at you yet.
Right.
So if we take weed and we do for weed what we've done for prescription medicine, are we really getting like real weed? Like, I know, like he was talking about these kids, like my students smoke weed like chimneys. And when I have the discussion with them that what they're smoking isn't real weed, I almost have to like really argue with them and let them know, no, this stuff is heavily processed. You don't know what's in it. You don't know where it came from. It smells different. When you come to school, like some of them, you know, come to school and they're like, yeah, I smoke that loud. I'm like, well, you should smoke quiet. Like, you need a better dealer with a better quality of weed, because that ain't weed. It ain't supposed to smell like that. It's not supposed to alter you the way that you come to school altered. It's not supposed to do that.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be comatose.
Right.
You might be high, but high and comatose are two different things. And I always tell this story, how to, you know, first off, I'll say that weed is not supposed to smell like it was grown in a living skunk's ass.
Thank you.
Real, what we used to call back in the day,
I knew
reefer,
that was coming.
Reefer used to smell pretty,
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, like a fine woman.
Yeah.
Or a fine man. We went to this concert.
Changed.
Yeah, we went to this concert though. We went to Erykah Badu, Mos Def, who else, and a bunch of other people.
Talib
Kweli only did one song because of some other stuff. But so these kids that didn't have seats where we had seats, they just kind of came to our area because it was closer to the stage, and they didn't sit, they were just standing up. But you could tell they were suburban kids. They all had on the fresh gear and they were real privileged. You know, Erica says, you got to light it up. They light their weed up. It smelled like you were in a ancient Asian film with all the beautiful purple orchids. And you could just see flowers, you know how in all the karate movies it snows out of nowhere and stuff. It smells so pretty. And it just took me back to like being a kid, like, yo, that's real reefer. I got reefer.
And he said that out loud. I was so thankful that it was loud in there. I was like, people are gonna hear you. You stop.
Hey, they had real reefer. They didn't smell like skunks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you know, like he's always talking about programming. So part of that programming is like, well, like when my kids come to school and they're like, yeah, I smoke loud. And I'm like, no, you really need to smoke quiet. But because of the programming that they're receiving, the louder I smell, the better my weed is, or the better that I am, because it shows that I can afford this higher quality weed. Like, nah, son, that ain't it. That is not the move.
Right.
So with the government trying to like put their hands in it, I don't know. I'm a little funny about it. Like I don't know. I don't know if I would use it and accept it, for whatever it was going to provide, be it, chilling, a higher vibe, a lower vibe. I don't know. I don't know if I want their hands and stuff.
Yeah, she's got this cousin that always says, well, that's the good stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, you don't know what the good stuff. Let me tell you something. The first time I smoked weed, you weren't even born yet. You brought some good stuff. I felt like what's the name? Willie Nelson and Half Baked. He's like, back in my day, we used to cover the whole bottom.
Right, you get a bag. I knew he was talking real talk. My mom used to talk like, man, this ain't no bag of weed.
Oh, that is
absolutely. You know what, Lady Bounce, I gotta salute you right about now, because working with children in today's time is something different. That's some different shit. I'm here to tell you, especially this conversation that they're having with you as one of their educators, and just being so open about their use and just being so blasé about it. Like, it was a time when I was coming up, we hid that from everybody. Nobody could know. I used to take my joint and put it in a pill bottle if I had a little roach left, so nobody could smell it, and then put it in a Ziploc baggie, because God forbid somebody would smell that on me. And it's just crazy that now that this is where it's at. Holy crap.
Yeah, like when I say, like, if no filter was a person, it's the kids I work with. Wow. The things that they say to us, in front of us, around us, sometimes is astounding. But like he's always, telling me, it is programming. The stuff that they see on TV and the music that they listen to, I'm keeping it 100. Well, maybe you should keep it like 20, because I didn't need to know that, or I don't want to know that. Like, and I'm always telling the kids stories. Like, my parents didn't find out that I used profanity until I was a junior in high school. But these kids cuss like it's nothing. They cuss like it's just regular talking. Yeah. Now, for me, who married the king of cussers, the cuss words don't bother me, because I realize that their mouth is the only thing that they can control 100%. Mm-hmm. They can't control whether or not they get up. They can't control whether or not they come to school. We're a uniform school, so they can't even control what they wear. They can't control how they get to school, because some of them, their parents won't let them catch the city bus. Mm. So their mouth is the only thing they can control 100%. And they do. So while a lot of my coworkers fight the battle of quit cussing, I don't tell them quit cussing. I say, quit cussing so loud. It's 7:45 in the morning. I don't want to hear, F you bitch from across the room. Like, wait, can you just walk up to her and say, shut up, bitch? Like, can you do that? Because again, we have to, we got to meet them where they are. Mm. And then try to, bring them up to where that they should be. Because we know, like, you can't walk into your job and just be cussing your boss out. That's not acceptable. But if you're talking to your friends, I can't control how you talk to your friends. I can't control how you talk to me. When you come in my office, you're not going to be talking to me like that. Right. You may even get get it off and talk to your mama like that, but you can't talk to me like that. But some of the things that they tell us, they just don't have that filter. They don't have that button where, like, I shouldn't talk about this to school, or I shouldn't talk about this, in front of a teacher. I had a group of male students in my room that I was trying to help them with the reading assignment, talking about having sex with the English teacher's wife. And I was like, wait a whole minute, fellas. Like, I had to tell them.
That's what they want to do. They weren't having sex with them.
Right. They were talking about that they could. Okay. They were like, oh, we could holler at her. We could pull her. I was like, you're 17 and she a grown woman. What are you talking about? But the fact that they were so comfortable to say it in front of me, and even when I corrected them, it was like, okay, fellas, that's enough. Like, I'm a female teacher. You need not have that conversation in front of me. They couldn't get the correlation of what was wrong with them having, like, the locker room talk in front of a female teacher. Yeah. They didn't get it. So when I came home and told him, I was like, it was the craziest thing ever. And he's like, what'd you do? I was like, I just told him, I just said, well, if y'all don't know how to talk in front of me, then don't talk in front of me. But they don't have that filter that we had growing up. They don't have that respect, that we grew up with. Like, say my mama didn't know that I cussed until I was a junior in high school. I was almost grown.
Wow.
These kids been cussing since they was 6 out loud.
Yeah, and like I said, everybody's broadcasting, so everybody's
Yes.
putting on a show at all times.
All the time.
It's rough. You know how people used to say, older people back when we were younger would say, "Oh, life ain't that hard. You know, you ain't got it bad like we have it." I can't say that about kids now because it's wild out here. I would hate to be a kid in today's times.
Yeah.
And we say it all the time. Like, I'm so thankful that when I was a youth and doing my stupid stuff, the social media was not a thing, and that there's no video, there's no, recollection. If you tell a story, you got to prove, that I was there and that I was involved in it. But these kids live for that. They live for that shock value moment, the likes and the love and how many views and stuff. Like, they thrive on it.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that, like, in a year or two, when you're sitting in front of somebody trying to get a job and they ask you on a job application, what's your social media name? And they're checking your social media and deciding if they're going to give you a job based on your social media presence. That's real.
They ask you that.
Yeah, if you want to work for the hospital system, which is Premier Health, and they own all the hospitals and Kettering Health, on the application, it says, what is your Twitter name, your Instagram, your Facebook, your Snapchat? And they go and they look. And they're looking at your social media presence and deciding not to hire you. In fact, one of my students did not get hired because when they went and looked at her Facebook page, she's got all these videos of her throwing up money and smoking weed and drinking. She's good for the job. She can do the job. And they were like, no, we don't want you. So she lost out on a $25 an hour job because of her social media presence.
Holy crap. Crap. Wow, what a time to be alive, y'all, for real. What a time. Yeah. I used to think that children today, they vibrate differently, number one. Yeah. And it seems that I was listening to another guy on Brother Rich's show, and he was talking about how he sees it as morality declining, but technology advancing. And so now we're in a space where no one has any shame. And it's nothing. Like, children will sit in circles and talk about how they had threesomes and all of these wild parties that go down, and there's no shame in that anymore. And I'm not saying that that's a negative thing, because we've gotten to a space where there's more acceptance in there, and it looks like we've really truly gotten to the heart of do what you will but harm none. However, I think that on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, it does harm, because sometimes you get encouraged to do things that you're not mentally or spiritually ready for.
And, if you remember, like, in the conscious community, even 10 years ago, they were talking about how the kids coming up now will be like the indigo kids, and they will be the light bearers. And now they have all this programming that is forcing them to be dumbed down. Like you said, you have all this technology in your hand. You could know anything.
Right.
But what you're doing is the worst of what you could be doing.
Recording fights.
Egging
fights to record it.
Setting up fights so that you can record it.
To post it.
Like you said, kids are sitting and talk about the threesomes. And not even just guys. Girls talk about all these dudes at one time.
Yes. And
you have all this power in your pocket that you could be using. So you have all this programming that makes them think that crazy stuff is the best of life.
Right.
When they could be learning all this miraculous stuff. We could be this world's greatest nightmare, like PE said, fear of a black parent, because now every black person could be at the highest educated level, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Right. Absolutely.
But we're not seeing that.
Yeah. We're in a time now where ignorance is a choice now.
Yeah.
It's dope. Like he always says, it's cool to be stupid.
Yeah. How about that?
And the sad part for me, as an educator, is I expect it out of the kids. Kids are dumb. You know what I mean? Like, they're smart, but they're dumb. We were dumb kids.
Yeah, you make dumb choices.
Yeah, we make dumb choices.
Right.
But for me, it's their parents that are engaging in the same tomfoolery. You're not 17. Your kid is. If you didn't get to do that when you were 17 and 18, my bad. Sorry for you, but you're 40.
Right.
I expect better of you. I expect that even if your child is involved in the fuckery, that you're at least saying, hey, that's too much. That's going too far.
Right.
But the parents are just as in it as the kids are.
Absolutely.
The parents are trying to live their best life at the same time. Well, I'm sorry that you were a teen mom and that now you're trying to live. Your child is not your best friend. They're not supposed to be your best friend.
Right.
Your son is not supposed to be the man of your house. I need you to get your life together.
Thank you.
At some point, you just have to say, I missed out on that part. I missed out on that piece. And as a parent, I have a responsibility to make sure that you can function in this world. I don't want you to have to work this minimum wage job. I go to work every day at Wendy's and Taco Bell. I want you to own the Taco Bell and the Wendy's. But we're not instilling that in our kids. We like, mediocrity is okay. Well, in my house,
it's too much work to be excellent.
Mediocrity is not okay. Right. I did better. Right. But like, I went further than my parents went educationally. I went further in life than my parents did in a lot of ways. Every parent wants that for their kids. But it seems like the parents now, they trying to grow up with their kids. Like, you 40 something, sis.
They just want their kids to have a lot of IG followers.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be the priority these days. So listen, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate you guys so much for giving me your time. We talked about self-love and what that looks like, and really being authentic. When you're showing up authentically, we talked about being more balanced in some of the negative things that we do, and some of the things that we can do to raise our vibration, the amethyst crystals, clear quartz crystals, rose quartz crystals, and all of those things, the altars that help you to remember who you are as an individual and the direction that you're trying to go into, and creating those altars that's going to help you get in alignment with that. And the way that society is today, and all of the changes that we have right about now, we got a lot of work to do. But as long as we are keeping our vibrations as high as we possibly can, because it's not an easy task.
No,
not at all.
We're gonna, we're gonna make it through these hard and trying times right now. And that's one of the things that self-love is all about, is being in a space of self-acceptance. So before you go, I like to give everybody some guidance to go, whether I'm pulling it from a deck or if there's some wisdom that I have to pass and everything. I'm going to leave guidance to go to you guys. What guidance would you have in living our most luminously satisfying life?
Going on what we've been talking about, the drinking and weed, and also an environment that we live in. I would say one thing to help you have a little balance, two things. One might be hard for a lot of people, fasting. You can eat, there's lots of ways to do it. You pick the one that's going to work for you. I like to fast at least 3 days for every season. Some people fast 1 day a week, or it's not that they go without anything. They'll do like liquids for 1 day a week. Especially for these kids and even adults that are going hard body on a lot of, bad food, drinks, fake weed. It's good to have a balance, and you could use a fast to do that, whether it be 3 days a week or once a week for season, or if you do 1 day a week. Also, shout out to my girl TK, who got us hip to this. Have a salad a day. One salad with all the stuff that you eat. Make sure you have a salad full of green, whatever kind of greens you like best. I know some people don't eat spinach, but I like spinach. I like, what's the one that I like that you don't like?
Arugula.
Arugula. I like that.
I love that. Yeah.
Any type, but real green. Mix up the greens. So that would be my thing. So that you can have that's beginning balance, fasting and greens.
All right. Yeah.
For me, because of like what our show is about, is practicing self-care. A daily practice of self-care. Something simple. It could be as simple as taking 5 minutes to close your eyes. It could be, singing at the top of your lungs in the car on the way home. Having your own concert. In my mind, I am Beyonce. Like when I'm singing,
Me too.
I am Beyonce. I got the
Yes.
hair, I got the hand,
Me too.
all of it. But doing one thing every day that makes you feel good. Check in with yourself. Do a full body scan. What do I need today? What do I need that's going to make me feel whole or make me feel happy? So I know people, are always talking about like, oh, I'm dieting and I can't have this and I can't have that. If you want that Reese cup, please eat that Reese cup. Have it with some cold milk if that's what you desire. Don't deprive yourself of feeling good. Now, don't go overboard. Don't, eat 5 or 6 king size Reese cups, but do one thing every day that makes you feel good and check in with yourself often to make sure that you're feeling good. If you skip a day on your self-care, don't beat yourself up about it. Just maybe tomorrow do 2 things, maybe do 3 things. You could double up or triple up. And don't buy into other people's viewpoints of what you should be and how you should be. If it doesn't feel good to you, then it's not good to you. It's not good for you. So if that man ain't doing right, then it might be time for a new one. If that woman ain't doing right, it might be time for a new one. Or it may just be time for you to check in and be your own mate. Be by yourself, but constantly checking in with yourself and doing stuff that makes you feel good at the beginning and the end of the day.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. So tell us, how can we find you guys on social media or any of your other platforms? Tell us how we can find you.
We're on all social medias, Facebook, IG, Twitter, and TikTok. Fly with us. You can email us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. flywithusla@gmail.com. But come to the page. The most popular one is Facebook, and that's Fly With Us Podcast.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Peace and light,
peace and love, everybody. You have a beautiful rest of your week. Watch out for that Mercury retrograde tomorrow, y'all.
Right.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Peace. 2 fingers.